This is the Two Scrappy Chicks podcast where life is messy, the stories are real, and we dare to talk about it anyway.
Hey, welcome back. Real? No, not real. I'm used to doing the housewives. That was yesterday. The Valley. It is season 3 reunion, episode 2. And we start out with, hold on, there we are. Um, they took a break after the first episode. That's when their lunch was. I heard when they go there, they're there for like 8 hours. I'm like, that is freaking nuts for a reunion. I don't think I could handle that. So they start where they're showing them finishing up their lunch. So it's just a bunch of fluff. So they come back. And Andy is talking about, so Jesse and Michelle, you're divorced. And how does it feel? Jesse said droopy, Michelle happy. And that Michelle said it's 90% well for doing the co-parenting for their daughter Isabella. Then they start talking about the 300K SBA loan Jesse took out during COVID. Or wait, small business loan. Did he do it during COVID? I don't know why I said that. Okay. Anyway, where is it? Michelle claims Jesse put it in his personal account and that, well, Jesse denied it, and I don't think we really got enough about that. But she claims Lacey is paying for Jesse, and Lacey gets all, heated. She's like, no. And Michelle claims all of Jesse's cards get declined. And I think in Mexico, Jesse's Chase card got declined for fraud. It got flagged for fraud. And that is Lacey's trying to tell her side, and she keeps getting interrupted. I feel bad for her. She is so disrespected by um the girls. And here I thought they all liked her, but they're like just really dogging on her. And I'm just like, that's not cool. So, um, Lacey makes it clear Jesse never asked her for money. And she also states, Aaron started filming weeks after he started dating Michelle, and no one questioned him if he was using her to get camera time like they feel Lacey is doing. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I'm tired. It's not too late. It's like what, 9:07? But Lala, I love Lala, but she was being rude. And I don't know what is up. I mean, this is 8 months ago, so I don't know what is up with Lala. I like Lala, but the reunions, she was very mouthy and had the nerve to tell other people they were talking too much, but then again, yet says that she herself talks too much. So I'm just like, what the hell is going on with you, Lala? All right, so then we switch over to Schwartz, and Andy asks about Kiana, and Schwartz says they've been together for 9 months. And Andy asks him if he wants kids, and Schwartz says yes, but I don't know if she wants to with me. And then Andy's like, how old are you? And Schwartz is like 43. She's 16 years younger. And then Andy says, yeah, my boyfriend is 16 years younger. And then Schwartz talks about that Tom Tom is for sale. And it was a good 8 month, not 8 month, 8 year run. And we go over to Zach about Benji. Benji has been living on and off, goes to Canada to work, and he's been going back and forth. And then Andy asks, do you have furniture? And Zach's like, no. And he asked, you paid back Kristen money she lent you. What was that for? And he said rent. And then Zach gets emotional and he says that Brittany and Kristen have helped him and been there for him. And if it weren't, for them, he probably wouldn't have stayed in LA. So I guess Benji was married. I didn't know that. It also doesn't state if he was married to a man or a woman because he's from Canada. And I guess and Zach has until this January to decide kids or not. And Zach doesn't want to think about what happens if he's not ready. And, Zach talks about his childhood being, wonderful and that, but he just feels that he doesn't have the lifestyle to support a kid. And then Andy asks Lala, how's co-parenting going with Randall? And she said they communicate with the app. He lives in Miami, and then he'll come up here and he'll see Ocean, their daughter, and she loves her dad. And she says, and that's all I want. I want for her, but she doesn't want anything to do with Randall. And then Andy asked, are you going to have more kids? And she said, Sosa is kicking her butt. She's going to be too. And then Andy goes over to Kristen and Luke and has the sex improved? Luke says yes. Kristen says yes. We're having more. And then Kristen learned that the postpartum she had was postpartum depression and postpartum rage, which she did not know about the rage, and that they were going to couples therapy on and off, but the therapist didn't think they were quite ready for couples therapy, and because they would get into fighting, so they need to resolve their issues individually before they go back to couples therapy. And then Andy asks, would you have proposed after the baby when you seen Kristen? Crazy Kristen, they called it. And he wasn't sure. And Kristen's like, he's always been honest and that they're happy. Things are have improved. And Luke said it's a slow burn, so there's no wedding plans as of yet, and a second kid, not yet. Then Andy goes over to Jason and says, you defended Jax, but you didn't Danny. And Jason was like, well, Jax went to rehab, so I drove him there, and it's like he deserved support. So are you telling me that if Danny needed to go to rehab and Jason drove him there, things would be different? Okay. Um, Kristen and Zach said they couldn't be friends with Jack because Brittany wouldn't allow it, but yet Jax went to Jason and Janet's house for Christmas Eve. And Brittany gives them a pass. She's got like this double standard. And Brittany said she liked the way that Jason handled him and that Brittany uh, allowed him to be over, let Janet and Jason have him over because then he wouldn't blow her phone up on Christmas. So I'm just like, what is that all about? Because why couldn't she, as well as other people, use the app to communicate like other people do? So I didn't understand that. And next, Danny and Jason. And Jason said he's not sorry for everything, but sorry for the name calling, and he wouldn't call him that again. And Danny says, well, Janet's words, and you perpetuated, you know, the words, her words, especially when Janet said the Charles Manson comment. And um, so Danny says her, communication about it, her words last season and this season were very malicious towards Danny. So then Danny goes to Nia and Danny and asks about Nia's postpartum. She says it's a lot better. They have now a live-in au pair, so that helps a lot. Danny is so supportive. Like if she's having an issue, he helps her solve it. They did intense couple therapy 2 months prior to filming. And then Lala interjects and says, I have to um, tell Nia I have two. I get it. And she praised how she handled Danny. And when she was watching, the watch back, she wanted to deck him for her. And Danny admits he was a complete nightmare. The stress and anxiety and knowing the cameras were going to be there, he apologized for being snappy at his wife, Nia. And Kristen said she was disappointed in how he talked to Nia, and it was hard to watch. And Jasmine is saying in the background, stop with the kid stuff. The kid thing all season, the blaming. Uh, so yeah, um, Jasmine wasn't having it. So Danny is not blaming. Danny says he's not blaming, and then Andy agrees because he has children. And Jasmine says, you guys, you make me not want kids. It seems miserable. And then Danny's like, well, the bad outweighs the good. So I guess Jasmine has a real problem with everyone saying, oh, I'm sleep deprived and this and that. And, quote, blaming the kids. Well, if you didn't sleep last night because your kid was up all night sick, well, then, yeah, you're not blaming, you're stating a fact. Yeah, I was up all night, the kid. Just like when it was storming the other night, I couldn't get to sleep because of the storm. Not blaming, stating a fact. Two different things. Okay. So I guess Kristen and Luke were invited to watch What Happens Live. They didn't have their nanny. She was out of town, and they were trying to figure out how to bring her and then maybe bring Luke's mom. And Luke thought it was all too much and kind of got snappy and said he would love to enjoy a dinner by himself in New York. Would have only been gone 48 hours. And he didn't think it was a good idea to take the baby with. And Kristen got hurt, and Luke apologized. He's like, I'm sorry, I didn't realize how you were affected by it. So we go back to Danny, and apparently he's been getting comments and stuff like hate. I think one person said your kids would be better off without your wife, and kids would be better off without you. So he says he can emphasize with Janet and how the hate she got. And then Lala interrupts because the question that Andy asks is, um, oh, like I said, can you empathize with Janet? And before he could answer, Lala interrupts and says, you should say yes. And then Danny's like, kind of annoyed that she interrupted. And he's like, well, yeah, but you interrupted me. You didn't let me answer the question. And Danny said the threats were a lot. And he apologized to Janet. And he said he was sorry that he had, liked certain stuff that was said about them. And Janet said that it was really dark and wouldn't wish it on anyone, the harassment and the hate. And then Kristen pipes in. She says, I remember it from Vanderpump Rules because she was getting emotional. So then, Lala, Nia, and Danny, Lala was talking about when Nia was dressing up Danny in drag and how Danny was saying stuff about the wig. And um, Lala didn't interject at first, but when she did, it's because she felt he wasn't talking to her nicely, even though Nia told him to knock it off. She felt like he wasn't listening, and that's why she stepped in. And he said, I barely know Lala. And Andy asked, so what if someone else said that? What if it was Kristen? And he said then he would have had a different reaction. If it was Kristen or any of the other guys that he knows, he would have had a different reaction. Um, but with Lala, he got annoyed because he didn't know her. So then Jasmine starts talking about the confusion of people saying, oh, Danny, you could drink, do what you want. And then um, the other people that were saying not to, then later on were drinking with him. So it was like very confusing. And that it's noted that he does get a little out of hand when he has too much. And then Danny was talking about how Nia told him he couldn't dance because it makes people uncomfortable. And then Andy says, well, think about all these situations. If you weren't drinking, do you think there would have been a different outcome? And Danny says, yeah, there probably would. And Danny said that since rapping, he has never been as intoxicated like he has been and has been in therapy. And how it ends is they talk about somebody pipes up Jasmine's wedding. Ask Jesse. So then they go to Jesse, and Jesse goes, this has nothing to do with me. And it ends. Of course. Of course they're going to leave it on a cliffhanger. So we got to wait a freaking week until next week. And I did a little sleuthing. Somebody was shoeless and shirtless at the bar at Jasmine's wedding. So I don't know if that was it, if there's more. Oh, and then I have yet to listen to Brittany's interview about Jax, but a lot of people are coming out and talking about Lori, who represented a lot of reality people. They said it was too weird how she inserted herself so much when she was, she's just supposed to be a PR person. So I have no clue if she has any clients still. So, all right. Well, that was it for the Valley. And I still don't know if there's a season 4. And next week is the finale. And I'm still waiting to see because they claim cameras went back up after the Jackson Lori thing broke. So I assume it's going to be on the last episode. Okay. Well, till then, see you later. We really appreciate you hanging out with the two scrappy chicks today. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, download, and share it with a friend. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, just let us know.